There's Todd.
Okay,
Calling
we're
us from
live,
some
Heather.
alternative
I'm gonna
universe
move over
where
to
it's
panelist.
dry.
Hi, Frank, it's Wayne.
Hey, Wayne.
We've got everybody here. We're trying to get the live streaming all put together.
We should be good to go.
We're about ready to go, I think.
Yeah, can I just be on the phone like this?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. Just let me know when.
Yeah, let Claire go ahead and run the meeting. I'll just listen.
Okay.
Okay,
The live streaming all put together.
we should be good to go.
We're about ready to go, I think. We're about ready to go.
Yeah, can I just be on the phone like this?
Absolutely.
Okay.
All right, we're good to go. I'm gonna check out my.
The time. Yeah. Just let me know when.
Yeah, let Claire go ahead and run the meeting. I'll just listen.
Okay, what's that going?
Okay,
It's like what we're hearing is about 10 or 20 seconds
We're about
behind
ready to
us.
go, I think. We're about ready.
okay. Because it's open. There you go. All right.
But will we still be able to hear like
Jack, can you hear us?
everybody?
I can hear.
I don't know, you're, okay, Frank.
Todd.
Jack,
Todd, can you
thumbs
say
up if you can
something?
hear us. Everybody thumbs up if you can hear us.
Can we hear you though?
Now can we hear you? Let's, Todd, why don't you go first?
Okay, very quickly, I'll tell you guys that when you're all in that conference room together, the audio is not great. So discussions, especially if you're talking over the top of each other, will be difficult for those of us that are remote to hear. We can hear Frank, but he's very quiet as well. 4-H update, things are clicking along. We did our livestock weigh-in. Excited to announce that we are going to have a pretty good livestock beef, lamb, swine, sheep, and small animal contingency. I think it's exciting to see things pick up after COVID. So we're looking good there. Jack and I spent quite a bit of time yesterday working on infrastructure as well as scheduling to make sure that everything we're trying to do to accommodate the Cascadia Rising event, as well as other things that are going on, the need for landscaping and trying to get the bull chutes moved in and out, all of that goes smoothly. I think we've got a pretty good plan to make that work. I will yield to Heather to give you a quick fair update on vendors, et cetera. I know she sent out a map earlier today and probably have some other news as well. I believe she's here, is she not? Yeah, she's here.
I'm here. I'm on my cell phone, so I'm not sure how the quality of the audio is.
Just fine.
Okay. So yeah, I sent a vendor map out to the vendors that have signed up. It looks like we're probably about 50% capacity for our traditional vendors, inside and outside. I'm pretty full for our food vendors. I may be able to squeeze one or two more in. But looking at the map I sent out earlier today, it's looking pretty good. I would still love to get some kind of international food truck. Like we don't have any, like, everything's pretty much traditional fare food, hot dogs, hamburgers, Chimney will be back, that kind of thing. So it'd be great if we could find like Mexican food or Greek food or something like that. So if anybody has any suggestions, I'm happy to reach out to people. We have the National Guard's coming in with some like touch-a-truck type events. Hopefully, if we can pull that together, that'll be awesome. And we're going to stage them kind of in between the main hall and where the fair office is in the grassy area, if we can get them in there. Otherwise, we're just kind of clicking along. I've been trying to get some stuff up on Facebook to get some more vendors in. I'll reach out probably either tomorrow or Monday to some of the past vendors that I don't see coming back to see if they're interested in coming back. But yeah, it's going well. I just would love to get the main hall filled up as quickly as we can.
Great. Any questions for Todd or Heather regarding the fair event?
Claire, let me just throw a couple more real quick things in there. We do have senior barbecue coming back. We didn't do that last year because of COVID, but it will be back. And it was sorely missed last year. We also have the Festiva de Latina coming back. So our Mexican banquet on Saturday. So senior barbecue on Friday at noon, and then the Latin fiesta on Saturday. And we're also working with, we have both the Siletz tribe and the Grand Ronde tribe as sponsors this year. And we're working to get some powwow type tribal events potentially scheduled as well. So the sponsorship opened the door to start asking if they want to do some sort of tribal stuff. So I'm excited that we may be bringing a little bit of that multicultural experience to the fair, like we did with the Latin Festival several years ago now. So just a couple of fun things that are maybe coming together. My hopes for the helicopter are waning. It sounds like where they thought that process might be fairly easy, it may be more cumbersome and more complicated than we can get done this year. So I unless the stars really align, we likely will not have to plan for the landing of a helicopter.
All right. Roy Kenyon has his hand up. Roy?
Yeah, I just was going to remind Todd that we're probably going to need to talk about closures here pretty soon. City of Newport has had some turnover. They got some new people, new public works director. So we're probably going to have to retrain those. And so I soon get started early on that. So sometime in the next couple of weeks, Todd, we need to sit down and get that figured out.
I'll shoot you an email. Let's set a date and just get together on the phone and do it.
That'll work.
And Wayne Belmont had his real hand up.
I did, and I just want to let Todd know that I got your message to put together the agreement for the rodeo. Janet is out for a period of time here, so I'm going to pull together and get that together, and I will shoot you something by tomorrow.
Perfect. And it seems to me there may have been two agreements, something else in that same email besides the rodeo agreement that we needed to sign, but what it is escapes me right now.
I'll look at the email and get whatever you need tomorrow.
I'll do the same. Thank you, Wayne.
Okay.
All right, let's go back to agenda item 2, which we skipped over, which is approval of the April 14th meeting minutes. And they were sent out for review. Frank, Jim, I didn't see any email from you. Did you have any corrections or additions?
I did not.
Frank? Okay, then the April 14th minutes will stand as published. Okay, excuse me.
I think maybe better than back to the roll call. Which members-
That's right. Just for the record, all three, I'll formally call the meeting to order and note that all three Fair Board members are present and that Claire Hall is the board vice chair is presiding for this meeting. Now, do we have Lisa Lipton on the line from Newport Symphony?
Everything working okay?
Seems to be.
Agent, you know what this was about? I assume it's just the normal thing now. They do their 4th of July concert at the middle school. And that, of course, corresponds at the time that we're looking at doing stuff around the fair. So has anybody approached you, Todd, about that?
So this email came from.
Yeah, and it turns out that they're trying to do the symphony at the high school, not the middle school.
Oh.
It is on Monday, which luckily is not a fair day, but parking, it's going to be kind of a crazy day, and it turns out it is not Paul Brookhiser organizing it, which we worked so well together previously. So I think we've got contact info. I will just reach out and figure out the logistics. But it's going to be a little crazy because we'll have vendors moving in and out of the space adjacent, the fairground space adjacent to the school parking lot. We likely will still have fair vendors and people cleaning up parking in the school parking lot. And we will have rodeo people trying to clear out of the north lawn area that they've used before. But one way or the other, we'll work it out. And I think Heather has the contact info for the lady that is heading it up. So we'll be sure that we make contact and get something worked out.
Okay.
So is there any reason not to just simply leave this to Todd to go
Yeah.
and work with the symphony with respect to the parking? Frank, you okay with that?
Frank agrees.
Okay. It's yours, Todd.
All right.
We're happy to do it.
We're now on to county staff update. I'll ask Roy or Jack if you've got anything facility wise.
I have nothing at this time. We're just working with Todd to get everything ready.
Roy?
I don't have anything additional, no.
Okay. Well, one thing, huh?
I've got a couple.
Okay, and I will have one. So take it away, Wayne.
The first thing is, since I've got Heather on the line, we were working at getting you set up with the county treasurer to do some of the things that we want to do electronically for finances. And, I got everything kind of set up there, but have you had a chance to actually get together with the treasurer at this point and do anything?
I have not, but I am willing whenever she is, because I actually sent that email out to my vendors today, and I had several like, oh, we can pay with a credit card. And I'm like, we're working on that still. So I would love to get it set up because it'd be much easier to have to get all the payments dealt with before check-in than trying to do payments at check-in.
Let me get you in contact with Jane Welch, who is going to be the one to do it, because she had suggested this way that we could do this. So I'll see if we can't get that put together before fair. And so you can actually utilize those particular services. The second thing is just, and I think this is probably where everybody's going to ask, where are we at with our with recruitment for the new fair board, number one?
We haven't started yet.
Yeah, and I just learned that. I thought we had actually started the process, but we haven't. But more importantly, just I don't know, at least I wasn't here the last meeting. I'm not sure it was reported that the agreement between the fair board and the board of commissioners has been approved by both bodies.
Yes.
So we're circulating around that particular agreement to try and get it signed by everybody. And then I have been having some conversations with the new county administrator. He's got so many things on his plate.
Oh.
It's like a fire hose, drinking out of a fire hose right now, that he's very happy to leave, and I'll be around for a little while, obviously, to continue working with the fair board and with the county to kind of move things forward. And especially, I'm looking at, for all these things, let's get through fair.
Yeah.
The upcoming fair, but we are going to start that process for recruitment for new fair board members. So people who are interested in being on the fair board, start thinking about it. We have some, general ideas of criteria we want to do, geographic representation of various interests that, traditional interests in the fair, those kinds of things. So we will do that, and then we'll begin that process. And I know this is especially, I think, important right now for Frank,
Yes.
but also for Jim and for Claire going forward, is to work out a process of getting some new people on board. I'd like to suggest that we get 2 people as soon as possible.
Right.
And then start, having you guys come off of the fair board on a rotating basis.
Yeah. What do you think? Like maybe every 3 months, let Frank go first and let Jim go, and I'll.
Well, it's up to you
Stick it
guys how
out.
long you want to stick around. Jim's been on it for.
I resigned in November
I know,
of
I'm
2018.
So it really, I think it depends in part on who actually steps forward to be on the fair board, how quickly they get on board and really kind of, come up to speed. And again, I've committed for at least a period of time here to continue working with the fair board and the board of commissioners to get this transition through, moving it forward. So that's just the update. Frank, I want to especially let you know that we're working on that so that we can rotate you off the fair board.
Okay, the only thing I would ask is, since this is not gonna happen until after the fair, is that true?
Yes,
That's what we were thinking. It probably at this point won't happen until after the fair.
Well, then I would ask please to spend a few dollars and make a splash at the fair for people interested.
recruitment.
Please.
Oh, yeah, that's a great idea. Yeah.
It's a great idea.
Hey, when you locate the updated MOU, could you shoot me an electronic copy?
We found it.
Oh, you did find it. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. Just-
But it sounds like we have one with a few more signatures now.
Well, Jim's here. We can try and get his signature. And then Frank, we're gonna have to somehow work out getting your signature. And I'm fine with it. We just send Frank the signature page. He's got a copy of the agreement. You sign the signature page and send it back and we'll go with that.
Okay,
All right, next thing we need to talk about is future management of the grounds. Amy Howard, who was property manager, who was handling that, has left. I think we're close to, I understand we're close to hiring for that position, but Eli Adam, our surveyor, who also has property management in his department, has come to me with a very vigorous request that that no longer be part of their office. Now, Todd, just want to bring you in to kind of summarize our conversation. My first thought was, well, I knew that you and Wayne had been talking about an agreement for extension to take on that role a few years ago, but it didn't come to fruition. And you've got, I think, some understandable reservations about doing that. Could you share those?
Yeah, and I reservations might not be the right word. When we first started discussing this pre-COVID, I think the time was ripe that we probably could have stepped right in and taken over management of that. And in fact, at the time we volunteered or offered to do that. Unfortunately, fast forward 4 years and my position has changed to where I'm only in the county 30% of the time now. Heather is backfilling the time that I'm away. So she's tremendously overworked as well. All of that is supposed to change in January, but in the true bureaucratic style, if it really happens in January, I'll be surprised. So I think we can certainly discuss it, and I don't think it would be. I don't think it's necessarily off the table. It's just not something that I think we can step right into immediately. And again, I completely concur with Claire, and I think everyone's sentiment that it needs to be better managed than just happenstance, hit and miss. Let's find somebody that has a little bit of FTE that they can throw at it, but they don't really have a desire to do it. I'm not the finance guy, so I don't know where the revenue or personnel for that comes from, but I agree or suggest that the time to talk about it is long past due.
I agree.
Okay, I'd also like us to hear now from Asia Richardson, who is unfortunately for our office not going to be with us much longer. She's transferring to a health promotion position in HHS. And when y'all tossed the management of the agreement with the auto show to this office, I asked Asia if she could take that on, and little did she know how complicated it was going to be. But Asia and I had a good conversation the other day, and she has an approach that she's proposing that I think is worthy of consideration. So please.
Yeah, so I kind of jumped in and took on coordinating with OSU Extension for the plant sale, as well as for the car show. And it really is, a time crunch for someone who is not really associated with the commons or the fairgrounds. Not knowing how that space is already being used made that job even more difficult. Having to kind of, look and coordinate and figure out, what's going on in each of the various spaces was a significant, challenge. There are multiple calendars going on that need to be checked. And it just was tricky to do on this side of things.
And also multiple email contacts,
Multiple
correct?
emails that maybe things are coming into. So, I really just kind of coming into it with fresh eyes, it would be really great if that was, somehow down to a calendar that people are using, a singular calendar that's marking off various spaces. Maybe we can get down to a singular email that, is being auto forwarded to whoever can take this on. I don't know how often that email is, being actively checked or used. It doesn't sound like there's anyone who is really actively checking the fair email.
Jim,
Okay, let me back the truck up a bit. We're talking about bringing new members on to the fair board, and
Mhm.
Frank and I are rotating off.
mhm.
And we've talked in the
Me
past
too.
about,
Someday.
well,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, the Commissioner Hall, I think you're.
I know,
you're
that's what
pretty
I
well
think.
talking.
Yeah.
It's kind of under duties as assigned, but
Yeah.
we talked about having this person on board or close to it at the time that we transferred or transitioned to the new 5-member fair board.
What person? I'm sorry.
I don't know who it will be. It's just that whoever's going to be doing the scheduling and the type of stuff
Right.
that
Oh,
we're talking
Yeah,
about.
eventually we should have this be
That-
part of the duties of a dedicated commons position. But-
Yes, but
Or contract.
we talked about
Or
having,
contract.
Or contractor.
or it could be
yeah.
a contractor, but we talked about having that person available or shortly thereafter at the same time as we made the transition to the new fair board.
Okay,
So that I think to kind of go together.
uh-huh,
That's my first comment. The second comment is that Amy Howard was handling not just fair, but she was the property manager and
Yeah.
so forth. So my question to you or Dwayne, if you can answer it, is what's actually happening with that particular position? Can you tell me?
Yeah, and I can, and maybe just add a little context to what you're doing, since I'm familiar with some of what's going on with, because Eli actually asked me to come talk to him, and I spent a couple hours with Eli talking about this and what's happening both on an interim basis and what's going to happen in the future out there. I also had an opportunity to talk to Kristen Yule, who's the county council, and to Tim Johnson, our new county administrator, because again, under the agreement we put together, that's going to be ultimately a county responsibility. And we look at all these options, like using extension, to what extent the extension can be involved, what extent we do it internally with an employee, and where that employee would be located, what we can do possibly with other contracts. We may be contracting other services out there too. And so Tim's now aware of the conversations there. He's going to have a meeting first with Eli. He's going to pull Eli in. They have hired a new property manager. There is now somebody who's replacing the old position that Amy was in. So they have somebody coming on board who apparently has a tremendous skill set. They're really impressed with this person and the capabilities. So I think they want to talk about what is it that this position is going to do to both address property management concerns, surveyor's office concerns, and the commons concerns. So it's all incorporated into that whole discussion there. So I think what we just need to do, and I talked to Eli a little bit, and I know he's going to submit a formal letter to the board and to Tim.
Yeah.
On what his position is on this, but I think they want to have some further conversations with him about this.
okay,
And what you might end up doing again is, and part, Jim, this is probably where it's going to be, is have an interim solution. You're going to have,
Yeah.
while you put together the actual development of the commons. And then once you're putting the commons together in there, then the things could change pretty dramatically. But that's something for the management team now to put together and say, here's how we're going to address this. And they're aware of the situation, and they're going to deal with it both on a short-term basis and then on a longer-term basis.
I don't have any problem with that, but back to Howard's position was fundamentally a conglomerate.
Yeah.
of property management, commons, and work for the surveyor and a variety of other things. And I just wondered whether there was going to remain a dedicated position in that office and just this duty would be taken away from it, or just.
That's to be decided, but there is a position and actually a person that's now in the position, and so
Okay.
now they're gonna be talking about what that entails.
So now it's just gonna be a question of what that person's job duties are gonna be.
And if it's not going to include the commons calendar event management, we have to find a different landing place for it. And as Wayne was saying, maybe a temporary solution, and then anyway. Jim?
Remember, Howard also had management of the keys and
Oh, yeah.
certain other things
Right.
related to the
It's all those things.
grounds, as well as the calendar. So there's more to it than just the calendar.
Yeah.
Todd.
Todd? Your hand was up?
I was having trouble following it. Can you give me just a recap? The noise of the conference room was making it really hard for me to hear.
So the recap, Todd, can you hear me now?
I can, that's better.
And I'll direct right towards where I think the speaker.
It's much better.
The recap is that they have replaced the former position that Amy Howard was in, the property management position. Eli is going to get, Adam, who is the county surveyor, is going to present a letter to the board and the county management, the county administrator, about what he sees the position doing. They're going to get together and have some discussions and make some recommendations on how to do that. So basically, there's an understanding that we need to land this responsibility someplace, and deal with it. And so everybody's aware of that. And it's just going through the process of determining what's the best place to do it and how do we coordinate all this stuff. And it may be one way on an interim basis. And then as we actually redevelop the commons in there, it may be different in the future.
So my suggestion, when I spoke to Claire about this the other day, was that external rentals at this point in time, we don't have the capacity for it. I've spent, about 5 hours trying to coordinate just on those 2 items, because they've needed, a lot of response from our office. That's, getting keys out, that's taking checks, that's getting their application processed. I mean, there's a lot more involved than just putting in a calendar hold.
Yeah.
And so I think as far as external rentals of the space, if there is not a dedicated person, it doesn't seem feasible to continue to rent externally. My concern at the moment is internal use of the grounds from Lincoln County organizations. So, for example, emergency management is using the commons for some of their upcoming events. And I actually have, a list of 3 conflicts, and I need to reach out to, I suppose, 4-H and maybe more specifically Todd. So my question is this something that, Jenny or emergency management could come straight to Todd rather than having me be a middle person in it all?
I think that's a good idea. Can I suggest that actually these meetings are going to come up in terms of determining who we might designate as the right person to handle this? You'd be a great person to add to that discussion and talk about these particular issues. And Todd, of course, we're going to make sure you're involved in the discussions too. So you can talk about the things that we're the scheduling kinds of issues that we have sometimes. So I think it's really, I think there's actually, I really foresee there might be some resolution of this and some actual designation of people who are responsible. Then we just need to make sure it's all coordinated appropriately. And your idea of a single calendar, is that's always been something that's been crazy to me. I never know what's going on when and where. So I think that's fine. So I think there's a process to put this all together coming into play. Again, it's how quickly it comes together.
Yeah. Okay.
So this is, did the fair board need to make any decision on this?
No,
Not today, for sure.
Okay,
no.
Jack had his hand up.
It was answered in the conversation.
okay.
I'm good.
All right.
Todd started to say something.
Oh, I'm sorry. Todd?
Well, yeah, I was just affirming, I think, where this conversation started with Wayne asking me the question, am I okay with it? Yes, I think that discussion needs to happen, and I'm certainly more than willing to be part of that discussion. And I would say if we're just trying to cover the interim usage between now and whenever, and primarily internal usage, it might be that I could get that cleared through extension just to be the point person, or for us to be the point people in the short term as we sort of look towards redevelopment and figure out where that ultimate responsibility lies. We may be able to sell that in an interim basis for now. So yeah, let's start the conversation and see where it goes. I'm all for that.
Okay, sounds like we've got a path forward. Yep. Jim?
When we had our last meeting, we heard from the folks, this change of subject.
Yeah.
We had heard from the folks who wanted the car rental, and you were gonna work with them. Can you update us on that?
And Asia's been dealing with them?
Yeah, so they actually didn't reach out to us at all. And after speaking with Eli, there was some concern that there may not have been communication between, this company that's setting it up and the actual car dealership. So he didn't want them to show up without having the contract in place at all. So I reached out to them, and it didn't sound like anyone had a chance to come down and look at the property.
Right, they were gonna do that.
And no decision had been made. They asked for a few different weeks throughout the summer, and all of them conflicted with, either the emergency management event or the actual fair event. I think there was maybe 1 week that could have been an option, or one, 15-day period, I guess, that could have been an option. So they are looking at that week for the time being,
Okay.
but no decision has been made.
So it's still hanging out.
Yeah.
Okay. That's all I had.
All right, anything else for the good of the order from anybody? Last call.
I'll just ask Todd specifically. So Todd, could I forward Jenny on to you on these few dates that she is hoping to use the grounds?
Yeah, I'm happy to discuss those things with her, and I guess just for everybody, please understand that we try to make that available. Knowing that we're the single biggest user and use it almost every day, we also try to accommodate everyone else's usage. So yeah, just put me and Jenny together, and we'll talk about it and find a way to make it work. That's no issue at all.
Okay, great. And the last thing that I would add, because I missed the beginning, was it announced that HHS is moved out of the fairgrounds?
Oh, they are.
Yeah, they're completely
Yeah.
moved
Completely
out.
out, okay.
So
go ahead.
So sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but just to comment along those lines, that's one of the things that management of the commons will really help. For example, I think the shot clinic was out on May 6th, but I went in there yesterday to try to move tables over for the Master Gardener tree sale in the livestock building, and there are still tables and chairs. They moved their stuff out, but they didn't give any effort to cleaning up the facility, putting tables and chairs back. So it essentially looks exactly like it did while they were holding shot clinics, except all their stuff is gone. So that's one of the issues that we confront in the management of that, is being sure that people that use it put it back in a condition where it's usable, not understanding that for one guy like me, that's 4 hours worth of work to pick all that stuff up. And I simply don't have the time to do it. So however this lands, that sort of, put it back in the condition that you found it is gonna have to be sort of a central theme here.
Okay, Jack?
This is where we need more than just a scheduler. we need an on-site staff member, even if it's just one person. That one person's gonna have 4 hours of extra time during the day. He's not gonna be scheduling 8 hours a day.
Mhm.
You know, this person needs to be multitasked with at least the minimum amount of care and attendance that the fair needs. And inevitably, this will probably land in my lap to go clean up their mess. But again, now I have to take my staff out of stuff they're already doing to make time for this additional duty.
Jim,
Well, remember that back when we had Amy Howard doing it, you know, a few years ago, another part of her job was to go down after the fact and see to it that people had properly cleaned up after themselves.
and if they hadn't followed up
They
with
hadn't
them.
followed up. So
Yeah.
that's another component
Yeah.
to this job we're talking about.
So I don't know, I don't think we need a formal vote, but maybe just consensus that, well, we're in this interim period, we stick to our policy of no outside rentals. We did make an exception for this car display, and I think, if I remember right, that's the first exception we've made since last year's car display, but you know, just tell people, you know, sorry, we're sticking to our already established policy and won't be in a position to consider, you know, waiver of that policy for any reason.
Well, and ultimately, remember, under the agreement, ultimately that decision rests with the county and the county
Right.
administration.
Right.
And of course, you wear the dual hat for doing that.
Right.
You know, for doing it. And you can monitor it and see, you know, if there's more resources thrown at managing this.
Right.
Maybe you can start opening it up more and doing
Yeah.
some more of this. But you gotta have the support, the infrastructure to do it.
Right,
That's what Asia's saying, and that makes a lot of
right,
sense.
Right.
Jim,
And I'm in full agreement with you on that with respect to future rentals until, or if you will, when we get a person and identify this person who's really going to be the manager scheduler that we've talked about, the new Amy Howard, if you will, who will have the time to do all of the various things.
Yeah.
Exactly.
At that point, then I think we
Yeah.
revisit the issue as to
Sure.
whether or not we do outside rentals.
I agree totally. That's why I said we just stick to the policy until
we get the person.
yeah, it's resolved.
Okay.
Anything else? Last call.
Only thing that Frank would throw in is that in the interim, if there's a nonprofit around that you could contract with for some of this coordination work, consider it.
Okay,
It's an option.
good. Yeah, that's a potential option. All right, then we will have our next meeting on June 9th, 2:30 PM. And until then, we're adjourned.
I will not be available on June 9th.
Okay.
I won't either.
Hmm?
I won't either.
Oh. Well,
We'll
Okay.
make it
Frank will be available. If you need to change the date, that's fine, Frank.
Okay. Sounds good. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you all. Have a great day.